on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Checkwich. This is the Kaged Review, and this is my review for X-Men Origins Wolverine. Why did I get myself into this? I don't know. I don't know. It's masochism. That's what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, directed by Gavin Hood, you have a screenplay here by David Benioff. I bring up the screenplay by David Benioff for one reason. People were all just shocked that Benioff and Weiss just butchered the end of Game of Thrones the way they did. But if you go all the way back to X-Men Origins Wolverine, screenplay by David Benioff, this is one of the biggest atrocities in the comic book movie genre period. They had absolutely no love for the characters that they were putting on screen from the comics. You could tell. They didn't give a shit. Maybe Wolverine himself, and that's far-fetching, I think. This was just bad. So let's get through the cast real quick, and then we'll talk about the movie. Hugh Jackman returns as Logan, or James. It's maybe a tribute to the James Howlett Wolverine, or Wolverine. Liev Schreiber comes in as Sabretooth. Danny Huston plays a younger version of William Stryker, as opposed to Brian Cox's William Stryker in X2. You have Ryan Reynolds coming in as Wade Wilson, Deadpool. Will.i.am as John Wraith, Kevin Durant as Fred Dukes, also known as the Blob, Dominic Donnegan as Chris Bradley Bolt, Daniel Hennett as Agent Zero, Tom Pocock as a young Scott Summers, Cyclops. You have Lynn Collins coming in as Kayla Silverfox, China McManus as Kayla's sister, who is supposed to be Emma Frost, Taylor Kitsch as Remy LeBeau, Gambit. Let's get into this. You start out the movie with James, assuming it's James Howlett, who is Wolverine and young Sabretooth. They are supposed to be brothers. There is no correlation to that in the comics whatsoever. You go to any storyline in the comics, never has Wolverine and Sabretooth been brothers, but I guess they thought that would have some emotional weight here. I could give that a pass. Could. So there's an argument downstairs with the parents and this gentleman who is in the cabin. So this gentleman who is in the cabin kills the guy who is supposed to be James's father. Of course, the kids come down. They're wanting to know what's going on. James is pissed. His bone claws come out for what we assume is the first time, and he stabs this stranger in the midsection. And then the guy, as he's dying, says, "That wasn't your father," reveals that he is supposedly James's real father. From there, the kids leave the house and they run away, and that's all you get. The next scene is the opening credit montage, which is honestly probably the coolest part of the entire movie. There's so much they could have done with Wolverine and Sabretooth going through all these wars. You have little clips of them going through World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam, all this stuff. And you see Sabretooth slowly growing into this maniacal character, got this bloodlust, and Wolverine trying to hold him at bay. And there's so many things, so many good things that they could have done with that, and it went nowhere. They saved it for an opening montage, and then you get the rest of the movie, which was a rehashing of the story of X-Men 1, honestly. It didn't make any sense. So it gets to the point where Sabretooth kills one of his superior guards. Wolverine is trying to back up his brother. They get charged for killing a senior officer, put in front of a firing squad. They get shot. Of course, it doesn't kill them. And then in comes William Stryker, who hears about it. He's developing his own team. Special people, special privileges, yada, yada, yada. He's going after adamantium. So it is explained that, it comes from this meteor that was found somewhere, I think, in Africa. And so they infiltrate this guy's compound. And this is where you're first introduced to the Deadpool character here, who is blocking bullets with his swords, and he's doing all this crazy shit that has nothing to do with the Deadpool character at all whatsoever. The only thing he does is talk a little trash in an elevator, and that's Deadpool for sure. He is a shit talker, as we know now. But it was weird. It fell flat. So this team that William Stryker put together had Deadpool, John Wraith, the Blob, Bolt, and Agent Zero in it. Of course, Sabretooth and Wolverine are there too. Sabretooth was all for killing civilians to try to get information about this adamantium. Of course, Wolverine was not. And so he's like, "I'm done with this. I'm leaving." He leaves the group, starts his own family, gets a wife, who's Kayla Silverfox. Now, her ability is when she touches you, she can control how you feel about a situation. And so she kind of fixated Wolverine on her to create this relationship. And she did that because William Stryker has her sister, who is supposed to be Emma Frost, in captivity. So to free her sister from captivity, Kayla Silverfox played this charade with Wolverine. The charade continues that Sabretooth winds up killing her, but not really. She faked her death so that Wolverine would be super pissed off, want to get back at Sabretooth, who he knows he can't beat because they've already had one fight where Sabretooth just whooped his ass. William Stryker says, I can give you the tools, and this is where they do the experimentation on Weapon X, which is Wolverine, of course, and it worked. And then they wanted to wipe his memory and use him as a weapon. Didn't quite go that way. Logan escapes, and then the General Munson, who is this guy who is kind of like the head of this program, says he's going to shut Stryker's program down. So, of course, William Stryker winds up just killing the General. So, now Wolverine, he's got his adamantium skeleton, he's ready for revenge. He has to figure out what to do next. And so he looks up Wraith, John Wraith, who tells him that Fred Dukes might know something, so they have this little bit of a fight with Fred Dukes, the Blob, which was kind of just dumb. And he says that there's this guy who escaped Stryker's compound and would know where it's at, that being Gambit. So Wolverine finds Gambit. And actually this created probably the coolest scene in this movie. Wolverine, he's like, I need to get back to Stryker's Island. I need to free some people and kill everybody you hate. But then Gambit sees the dog tags on Wolverine and says the guys who took me there in the first place wore those same kind of dog tags. And so the fight between Gambit and Wolverine ensues. And so Gambit, in slow motion, like pulls all these cards out. You see him start glowing with purple energy, and then he blasts Wolverine through a wall. And that was honestly the coolest shot in the movie, in my opinion. And they better do something cool with Gambit. Come on. Sabretooth is there. He followed John Wraith to get his ability. He killed John Wraith. So now Wolverine's trying to get at Sabretooth, but of course Gambit is after Wolverine now. So Sabretooth escapes. There's kind of a really bad fight after that between Gambit and Wolverine. There's a section where like Gambit's on top of like a fire escape and Wolverine's cutting the fire escape down by just like hitting the damn thing 100 times, cutting through the metal and it falling slowly. I think Gambit probably had like an hour and a half to jump out of this thing. Honestly, it was ridiculous. It really was ridiculous. But eventually, Wolverine catches Gambit, convinces him to take him to 3 Mile Island, which is where all this is happening. So, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on the rest of the movie because it just sucked. I'm going to spend a special part on Deadpool, though. Give me just a second. So, it basically comes down to, you know, Kayla Silverfox dies, William Stryker shoots Wolverine in the head, and then, you know, of course that erases his memories. He heals, but he can't remember what's going on. So that's kind of how they introduce, like, Wolverine in X-Men 1. But Deadpool. At some point in the movie, you hear that Sabretooth supposedly had killed Deadpool. But we find out that's not the truth, that he was actually being experimented on by Stryker and turned out to be Weapon 11. Holy fuck. So there's this big face-off between Wolverine and Sabretooth and Deadpool. What's supposed to be Deadpool. And he walks out, he's built as hell, he's got all these operation lines on his arm. That looked ridiculous. They completely covered up his mouth. He's got this like skin graft where it's just a piece of skin from his nose to his chin. So the merc with the mouth, of course, you're just going to take away his mouth completely. That makes perfect sense. And then Deadpool is nothing but a combination of other mutants' powers. He's got John Wraith's teleporting ability. He's got Scott Summers' eye blast ability. He's got this big adamantium sword coming out of his arm. I mean, like, it was so nonsensical in every way and truly did not give a fuck about the origins of Deadpool at all. It was truly terrible. It really was. So Ryan Reynolds said he always wanted to play Deadpool. He finally got to play Deadpool, and that's what he got, and it sucked. So yeah, that was the end of it. Eventually, they cut off Deadpool's head together. Sabretooth and Wolverine working together. And it's funny because Sabretooth is trying to kill Wolverine this entire movie, and then when Deadpool comes into the picture, he finally, like, all of a sudden comes out of nowhere, by the way, and says, no one kills you but me, and so they start working together. Made perfect sense. You get a mid-credit scene after that fiasco where Stryker gets arrested for the murder of General Munson. So he's arrested for murdering a general, which kind of goes against everything we know about X2, where he's free and he is still experimenting on mutants and still like trying to fight this big war. Didn't make any sense whatsoever. And then you get an end credit scene where Deadpool's head is on the ground and he winks at the camera showing you Deadpool is still alive. It sucked all the way around. The story was completely disjointed. Some of the acting was absolutely atrocious. Just nothing made sense. Even some of the CGI, there were parts with like the Wolverine claws, man, where it looked worse than X-Men 1 and 2. So it was just really bad at times, man. So after all of that, I have to give it a 1 out of 10. It was just torture. The best parts of the movie were easily Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Of course, he just kills the role, and he does like the part. Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth had some great line delivery. That guy can deliver a line like nobody I've seen. He's really damn good. So I loved Liev Schreiber in this movie. And then, like, not even the entire Gambit fight, but just that opening part where he, like, pulls the cards out. That was a really cool shot. I think Taylor Kitsch really looked like Remy LeBeau. I thought they did a great job making him look like Gambit. Other than that, this movie was terrible. 1 out of 10, that's what it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz, Kaged Nation, out.